And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Grade A Power Plays. I'm your boy, Grade A Fantasy, here with another selection of top plays for today's short 4-game slate. Let's get right into it. And before we do that, we always got to do a little recap of last night. So, Carolina was kept out of the net from the power play, but 5-on-5. We fell a little short on the Jaho Arvis line 1 2-point props, but we were able to make up for some nice plus props with the Stankoven Blake. Tyler Toffoli Eklund came through. Like I said, Celebrini couldn't score. Vegas was great on 5-on-5. Conor McMichael, Connor Wilson. So basically, Washington 2 came through for us. John Carlson Point came through. So, a little bit of a loss, but not a total loss last night. But let's make up for it tonight. So if we get right into business about what I have opened already. As you see, this is what we're going to be focusing on. This is the main key of today's slate. I love this matchup. Chicago at St. Louis. What do I have here already? Jake Neighbors, Robert Thomas. We got some line 1 stacks. We got Jake Neighbors by himself, 4 plus 108. Justin Falk, for instance, says Cam Fowler. Those are both the power play quarterbacks. We'll get to the Florida game in a minute. Kyrou power play, Snuggeroo, basically everybody for a possible power play. That's just a reach, though. I'll explain why in a minute. Buchnevich and Thomas on the top line. Kyrou Shen on line 2. Pia Suter and Snuggeroo on line 3, plus 176 and plus 149. Now, why are we going with these props? So, basically, we're going to go back to the Bedard era, which is basically 2 going on 3 years now. So, basically, in the last 8 games since 2023, St. Louis is 7-1. In those 7 games, at minimum, St. Louis has put up 4 goals, and at maximum have multiple games of 6 and 1 game of 7. So, as long as this game goes in our favor and it goes towards a win, we're looking at least the possibility of getting multiple stacks going through, and there's a possibility of this as well. I think we have the conviction and the research enough to even reach. And I think they're still good. Yes, they're still solid props. I think we're good for some 2-point props individually and pairing. Here's why. In those 7 games, Shen, 6 points. Thomas, 7 points. Pavel Buchnevich, 6. Now, some of these guys also that had blown up before, they are not here with the team anymore, like Philip Broberg, Terry Krug. But we do have Pavel Buchnevich, who has 6 points. Cam Fowler still here. He has 3. Neighbors has 3. Kyrou 5. The reason why I bring up these names, Shen has 2 multi-point games. Thomas has 3 multi-point games. He has scored the most points in this 8-game sample. And then you have Neighbors, who has 3. Kyrou has 1 multi-point game with 5. So at most, as long as you're looking at some type, and now the personnel has changed. But if you're looking at some type of gamble that's a fun sweat tonight, it's the possibility. Now, they are starting Spencer Knight, who is the better goalie, but like I said, it's still a bad Chicago team, and this is a very deep St. Louis team, 3 lines at least. So it is worth a risk. I think it's another, risk to try and get some 2-point plays in with that kind of sample size. Other than that, I definitely see the possibility of another St. Louis victory with at least a multiple 4 points, where so far this year, Snuggerud and Pia Suter have played well. Line 2 and line 1 are mixed matched on the power plays. There's 2 at least of those pairs with each other on the power play, with a mixture of somebody with Snuggerud on line 3 on power play 1, so on and so forth. Chicago this year, they're normally not one of the teams that lead in penalty minutes, but the opportunity is there. But here's the forewarning here. As I show you the power play points, because once they get set, they're still worth the stacking. And they pretty much got mostly power play 1 here, with Kyrou as a power play 2. I'm just going to have them there just for the hell of it. In those 8 games, St. Louis trounces Chicago pretty much 5-on-5. Besides the people that are gone, with this sample size, there's only been 3 power play points with the people that I just named. Like I said, Philip Broberg and a couple of other guys, like I said, that are not here, and Torrey Krug retired, that only adds up 5 power play points in this 8-game 2-year sample. So St. Louis trucks these guys on, besides the one loss, and I think the loss they still got 2 goals off, if I'm not mistaken. As long as St. Louis wins in this Bedard era with this bad Chicago team, you're looking at multiple points, and there's a couple of guys here that are possibility for 2 points. So with that being said, I think there's a possibility that along with linking up with guys like this, so you got Thomas Neighbors, and then you could get like, what else we got? Thomas Buchnevich, and then it's Shen and Cairo on the same line. Those are the main people with the most points anyway. Neighbors has 3 points. Obviously, he hasn't been with the team that long. But Shen, Thomas, and Cairo, 6, 7. Pavel Buchnevich has 6, and Cairo has 5 points against these guys. So those are the guys you actually want, and they're paired off with each other on 5-on-5. So since they're better on 5-on-5, you definitely want Shen, Cairo, and I'm going to do it. I think it's a fun sweat tonight. I mean, if Chicago, mucks it up a little bit and they can only get 4, then, we'll probably get a bunch of pairs. But I think with the power play and this, I think we're looking at, if we can at least get a decent game of 4 or 5 goals, and one of them is paired off with a power play point, then yeah, we're looking at a nice, great stack tonight. So for 2 points, Thomas and Buchnevich, they're gonna get a straight bet, and each as a pair, because like I said, this is very viable for tonight. So they're gonna get a little love right there. So 10 and 10 right there. If you're a little scared of it, maybe Chicago mucks it up and they don't get there, just like how Carolina didn't get there last night. You can put half a unit, but it's research that I recommend. 5-on-5, they just absolutely whip Chicago's ass, pretty much. And then I'm just gonna go with and then you get let me see, and then of course you get Shen, Cairo. You could get Thomas and Pavel as well. Cairo's a plus 344. Braden Shen's a 520. So we definitely gonna go for that. Hopefully that comes out. I think it's a fun sweat. It's a fun sweat. Definitely something that I'm looking forward to, like, sweat out tonight. Like, it was more anticipation with Carolina, but these are even way better odds. So, like I said, you don't have to put the full unit like I do, but this is stuff that is possible. And then, like I said, Pavel Buchnevich is also somebody that I can single off for 2 points. Where is he? I think I did yeah, I did Thomas and Buchnevich, correct? Yes, I did. So most of my bets are pretty much on this game tonight. Cairo, Shen, Thomas Buchnevich. Yeah, these are the guys that have the most points here. If you really want to get spicy, what's really spicy, and I might think about doing it, is because of how they started, and they're most likely going to face the depth of Chicago. Not going to lie, because their odds are pretty decent enough as it is with 1 point. But, man, if you go to line 3 and get Pius Suter, and you go for somebody like Snuggerud, plus 1335 on the third line, so they'll get the depth of Chicago, and most importantly, they'll be looking at, and you have Snuggerud, who has the possibility of getting 2 points because he's on that top power play with the Thomas and Buchnevich and Snuggerud combination. And I think the top power play is run by Cam Fowler and then Justin Falk, which is why I also have those guys listed. For props as well. Yes, I have Falk for an assist because most of the offensive stuff, it gets set up and dumped in, but most of the offense is coming from the forwards. The defensemen are there to defend and maybe set up a play. So Justin Falk for an assist, Cam Fowler for an assist because they're on the power play. And then, of course, I have their power play odds. So, yeah, I'm most excited about the Chicago-St. Louis game. Let's get into the other bets that I like. Panthers, Detroit, there's some interesting stuff there. But with that, I think I'm just going to like Lundell and Reinhardt for plus 132, solid line. And then, like I said, if they're on the road, they're going to see, once again, after you don't see the top pair and the Larkin line, basically everybody else is beatable defensively. That's who Lundell and Reinhardt are going to see. So I definitely like them to hook up again. And I don't think I have anything else set up really for any other advice. I mean, I guess if I go back here, hit NHL. Oh, yes, I do recommend one thing. I do Calgary, like I said, they're on the back-to-back top five once again in penalty minutes. So I guess I can recommend like Cooley. No, not even. I mean, if anything here, I'll probably just recommend power play. Gunther is still plus over 200. You got Sergachev plus 260. And then Cooley plus 290. Cooley and Gunther, they're linked on line one, so the power play is viable there. Maybe assist-wise, there could be something there that you might want to take. Assist-wise, what is this? Sergachev is, at least Sergachev is plus 112. That's good as a power play quarterback. Plus, there's injuries. There's injuries there. Sergachev is playing minimum of 25 minutes and more. So Sergachev assist is viable. And I think the last bit of advice I have for today will be Ottawa and the Sabres. Yes, Batherson is supposed to be skating today, and he's supposed to be coming back off injury. But it was just news broke maybe about an hour ago that the injury to Tkachuk now is sustained. His broken hand, he'll be out for a month. So the old combo of Cousins and Batherson, we will not be doing that because they do not play on the same line. Most likely projected, now watch out for line warm-ups, but projected to fill in that spot or scorer like Batherson will fit. Obviously, he doesn't play defense, is not as physical as Tkachuk, but they're going to need Stützle with somebody up there. I think Zetterlund stays to the left, and I think the combo that stays interesting is a plus and plus. Shane Pinto has been on fire. He has been shooting like crazy. He's going to see the bottom of, he's on the third line, so he's going to see bottom six matchups of Buffalo, even though on the road, whoever the Dahlin and maybe Bowen Byram and whoever that top line is, Tage or the second line, is going to see most likely the Tim Stützle line. So whoever's at that bottom line, they're going to see people like, you know, a playmaker like Giroux and Pinto. In this case, Giroux's not much of a shooter. He's more of an assist guy. Pinto has been shooting like crazy. So plus 100 on Pinto, Giroux plus 108. Maybe you take a look at Wrigley Greig, possibly. But Pinto has been amazing. Those two, and if you wanna bring it up even more, I think because of the playmaker Giroux is, it does make sense to go with a Shane Pinto point, and then maybe a Giroux assist makes it a bit spicy because he's purely a playmaker at this point of his career. And if I select that and I take this off, well, I got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. If I take off Pia Suter and Snuggerud, Shane Pinto and Giroux assists is 331. And if I think I added both 100 or to 110, it's probably like 210, 220 if you go point and point. But that is my video, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be taking more notes on these, but that's what I love for today. Thank you for tuning in. Let's sweat these out tonight. This is your boy Grade A Fantasy with another edition of Grade A Power Plays, and I'm signing off.